introduction of clause DA, where the proposed amendment seeks to ensure that there is need for publication of an annual report for purposes of ensuring research, advancement of certain programs, as well as creation of an impact of such particular programs. This way, Mr. Speaker, I believe once this amendment passes, if an institution that is mandated to run these programs is required equally to publish the report, we'll be able to have action points. We will be able to know that following the provisions that have been done by this institution, certain action points were made if they were enforced. And this is the one that will support the government to ensure that enforcement achieves certain proposals which have been made, and of course in terms of ensuring that it achieves the intended purpose. That is a welcomed proposal, and we will be looking at how would the institution enforce the proposals which have been made by such publication of regular or periodical reports. The proposal under section 14, which is clause 7, on the Principal Act, clause 7 is on the conformity of the requirements. The introduction of amendments, or rather new subsection 14A, running all the way to 14J. Yes, running all the way from 14A to 14J is a welcome move. And Senator Muma, this is very important because the Principal Act does not reach out in terms of its provision as to the consequences of non-conformity with the provisions of the Act. And under 14A, the quantity and the content of the nicotine in a product is provided for here, such that if there is a product that has been marketed and it doesn't meet the provisions it didn't provide in the previous law, and now the introduction of 14A will make sure that this is achieved, and therefore the marketing of such a product or the manufacturing in itself will be required to have complied with the provisions of 14A. 14B talks about the packaging or manufacturing for purposes of marketing these products, and this is where I believe it's the gist of these proposed amendments, because we are talking about under 14B, that is the pouches that are supposed, or rather a person shall not manufacture or place on the market nicotine pouches unless such pouches are child tamper proof and can be used without spilling their contents. Beyond that, the provisions henceforth ensures that we protect the young ones. We protect our children from being availed products which they can misuse, especially because of their age. Approval of tobacco products, information to be contained in the request for approval is a welcome proposal. And in particular, the proposal under 14E on the submission and testing of samples. Samples will be required to be availed, to be tested, and if they meet the quality, that is the only time that they can be licensed to be placed in the market. And it therefore means the control is enhanced to the extent that whatever is permitted to the market has already gone through the procedures that allows it to be utilized or to be placed in the market for sale. 14F talks about a period within which the Cabinet Secretary is required to communicate in writing to the decision that the Minister has made in a request for approval for a product to go to the market. The provision that is seeking to have the Minister have 90 days, this is for Senator Catherine, 90 days seems to be a bit long, especially if the application is by someone who is a manufacturer. I propose that you consider amending that 90-day period to a lesser period for purposes of ensuring that whoever has tried to manufacture this product wants to take it to the market is allowed to maybe enhance the quality or quantity or packaging to comply with the law, and 90-day period will be a little bit longer. Similarly, the punitive the creation of an offense under 14G for someone who contravenes the provision of the section 1 million or 5% of the person's gross turnover, to me, is a bit lenient. I propose that you enhance this to make it more punitive, because what we are desiring in this law is to ensure that we restrict as much as possible this product to go to the market, because once it's out there in the market, the control mechanism is not as easy as it is attempted by the law. The requirement that Cabinet Secretary to ban such product which does not conform to the market, to the requirements of the Act, Senator Catherine, should be compulsory. Please amend to reflect that the Cabinet Secretary shall ban that product if the product does not conform with the requirements of this Act. If you allow the discretion, that discretion can be misused, especially because of what we all know to be the trend in terms of the resource mobilization that the manufacturers, marketers, or traders in this particular kind of business can do. And the requirement of Section 14J, this is what it provides: a person shall not produce or supply tobacco products containing vitamins or other additives that create the impression that a tobacco product has a health benefit or presents reduced health risks. This is a very good provision. And I want to agree with colleagues who've said, if there is a way in which we can completely ban additives or flavors in this particular product, the better, because the more the flavors, the lesser the possibility of even appreciating that someone is smoking. Because we are looking at how we can support our young ones. If the flavors can distort the smell, can distort the appreciation by an individual of someone smoking, I would rather even we amend this law to completely ban the flavors of the products which are allowed to be put in the market. Mr. Speaker, under the provisions of the proposed amendment to Section 15, Section 15 of the Principal Act, Mr. Speaker, talks about the age limit being a youngster who is not an adult, be someone below 18 years of age. The proposed amendment, which seeks to delete subsection 5 and substitute thereof, does not specifically make reference to the period, or rather the age of 18. I propose that that be introduced, but more importantly, in this particular proposal, the Principal Act, which I propose for Senator Muma to relook at, is to ensure that the Principal Act provision under Section 15(2) that talks about a fine that can be levied on someone who has sold tobacco product or nicotine products to a child of age 18 and below is only liable when found guilty to a fine of 50,000 and imprisonment of 6 months, not less than 6 months. This is a very critical provision, because if one can sell 6 months or 50,000 is too minimal a fine that will not in any way be a deterrence at all. And those who are involved in this market have resources, they have sufficient resources, and they will definitely sell to the young ones, knowing very well that if at all they are got up with the law, they can just walk away by paying 50,000 fine, and sometimes even making sure that they intentionally do it because they want to market their product, they want to sell, they want to make profit, and they wouldn't care because 50,000 Kenya shillings as fine is not punitive enough to be a deterrent to those who are trading in this market. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, as I said, this is a timely amendment to the Tobacco Control Act 2007, and I support and request that additional proposed amendments which have been proposed by members be put in place to ensure that this achieves the objective that we're looking at, supporting and making sure that we protect the future, because the future is the young people who are actually highly targeted by this market product that we have, which we are seeking to control. With those very many remarks, or very few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support and I want to once again applaud Senator Muma for this particular amendment. I thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, next is Senator Moses Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the amendments to the Tobacco Control Act as proposed by Senator Catherine Muma. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the global dynamics of regulation and control of e-cigarettes across the world, Africa has been a free-for-all. It has been a market where anyone can come in with electronic cigarettes, anyone can distribute them, and there are no regulatory barriers. There are no strict regulatory requirements. As a result, Mr. Speaker, our children have found it easier to access e-cigarettes, much more easier than it is to access the traditional cigarettes. It is becoming a serious problem, and those of us who are parents, sometimes we hear stories in boarding schools that children are sneaking in with e-cigarettes. They're very difficult to detect. They do not emit the traditional smoke. You know, in the old days, if you had some naughty boys smoking cigarettes in the toilets, the pungent smell of the cigarette would call in the teachers immediately. But with e-cigarettes, it is very possible for people to smoke, for children to access these products without consequences being meted upon them. Mr. Speaker, Senator Muma has made proposals to ensure that electronic nicotine delivery systems are regulated and that advertising of tobacco products is regulated and that the sale of tobacco products, including electronic nicotine delivery systems, to persons under the age of 18 is prohibited. And further, Senator Muma has proposed that these electronic nicotine delivery systems should not be manufactured, distributed, imported, or sold in Kenya without the prior authorization of the Cabinet Secretary responsible for health. Mr. Speaker, this is necessitated by the current situation where the markets are open and anyone can bring in these electronic nicotine delivery systems without paying taxes, without their quality being vouched for, and without the health impacts being looked at. Mr. Speaker, there are countries that have placed outright bans on electronic nicotine delivery systems. One such country is India. India has said, no, we are not going to subject our population to this novelty. Another country that has put in very tight restrictions is Australia. And in Australia, some of these electronic nicotine delivery systems are classified as therapeutic solutions, such that to access them, you will need a prescription, and you can only access them from a pharmacy. Other countries, Mr. Speaker, have imposed a blend of restrictions, ranging from age restrictions, ranging from advertising restrictions, and even content restrictions. In Kenya, we have not had any restriction whatsoever. And so it has been a wild, wild west when it comes to abuse of this novelty. Mr. Speaker, we must take a multi-pronged approach to this particular subject. One of the greatest ironies is that Kenya is a producer of tobacco, and tobacco growing goes on in Western Kenya, particularly Nyanza, and more so the areas of Migori, especially the areas around Kuria. Tobacco is a big economic crop there. And so you find that 36,000 farmers, according to latest reports, rely on tobacco growing for sustenance. And about 13,500 hectares of land has been put under tobacco cultivation. Mr. Speaker, perhaps we need to have a conversation on how to transition these communities to healthier products, because in any case, it has not been established that tobacco growing has led to wealth and has increased the lot of those who practice tobacco growing. When you move around those areas, you can stare poverty straight in the eye, and yet you have farmers who dedicate and break their backs trying to produce tobacco, which eventually ends up in certain value chains that mess up the health of our people and put an inordinate burden on the health systems in this country. And so, whereas we could argue that we produce tobacco in Kenya, but it is possible to transition our farmers into healthier products. And Mr. Speaker, where tobacco grows, sunflower can grow, a lot of other products like soya, avocado, etc. can grow. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, that the best solution is not to have policemen running around with rungus and handcuffs, running after tobacco smokers, but to have a comprehensive policy that is designed to prevent and designed to address the root causes of tobacco consumption and tobacco abuse in this country. Mr. Speaker, the tobacco lobby is extremely strong. I've been in this parliament and I've seen instances where we have made proposals to amend the Tobacco Control Act, and you'll find people who work for the tobacco companies hanging around the parliamentary lounge, hanging around the parliamentary restaurant, and trying to talk members of parliament against making certain proposals. They always argue that because of sin tax and excessive excise duty that is imposed on tobacco products, that it is such a critical economic factor that we should not be interfering with it. But, Mr. Speaker, we must balance the economics with the long-term health impacts. I want to support this proposed amendment because ultimately we must put in regulation and we must prescribe a certain regulatory or statutory framework for these electronic nicotine delivery systems. Mr. Speaker, as we do it, we must also be conscious of certain trends that are going on that we might not be able to catch as Parliament and that we might not even be able to catch as parents. Mr. Speaker, marijuana has been illegal in this country for the longest time. Its consumption, its distribution, its sale has been illegal. And yet it is still widely available in the country. The chiefs know where it is, the administration police know where it is, and it has become a cash cow. The administrators at the village level, from the village elders all the way up, they know where the marijuana is grown. They know who the peddlers are. But because it sustains a criminal enterprise, we cannot be able to get rid of it. Mr. Speaker, young people have now transitioned from smoking it to eating it. There is an emerging trend of weed cookies, Mr. Speaker, that are easily found online, that are easily found in urban centers, easily found in entertainment spots. You are eating a cookie, you think it's just a normal cookie, and yet it is laden with illegal products and illegal substances that have got a dangerous effect on our health. How are we going to be able to catch up? How are we going to be able to keep up with our young people? How are we going to be able to keep up with the criminals who are intent on using innovative approaches to escape the established laws? Mr. Speaker, beyond the weed cookies, there is what they are calling e-weed. And these devices, the same devices that can be used to deliver nicotine electronically, can also be used to deliver cannabis electronically. And Mr. Speaker, we need to ensure that when we do legislation, it is as broad as possible. But ultimately, it is not legislation that is going to help us. We must reset our moral fabric. We must reset our moral compass as a country. We must ask ourselves, what are the underlying reasons that would drive a young person who has been in the church choir all the childhood ages, has been a pathfinder, has been an altar boy, and then all of a sudden, at the age of 13, 14, they decide to go into some of these activities, which the parents did not train them to do. Why? Is it because of overexposure to the media? Is it because of overexposure to advertising? Do we have advertising systems and advertising algorithms that trap our children into certain consumptive behavior? Mr. Speaker, the story is told of Japan. Originally, Japan was a tea-drinking nation. Japanese never drank coffee for a long time. And when the big coffee multinationals came into Japan, they were unable to penetrate the market. They were unable to sell. They got a child psychologist to develop for them an advertising campaign. And Mr. Speaker, what this child psychologist did was to try and put coffee in children's food from an early age. So you've got coffee-flavored infant formula. You've got coffee-flavored candy. You've got coffee-flavored chewing gum. And so children started getting the idea of the feel and the taste of coffee from an early age. It took only one generation, Mr. Speaker, for coffee to dominate as the biggest beverage in Japan. And it almost overtook tea. Why? Because they exploited the psychology of children. We must look carefully at even the advertising space in this country. Are we having adverts that are enslaving our children? And Mr. Speaker, it goes beyond what Ezekiel Mutua used to do when he was in the Field Classification Board, declaring something pornographic, declaring something ungodly. We must have scientific approach and scientific vetting of the marketing campaigns in this country, because I believe, Mr. Speaker, they make it look like it's cool to smoke, and so the kids want to smoke. When you look at Hollywood movies, Mr. Speaker, the star is always smoking. When you look at many of these sitcoms, you find a parent is smoking in the presence of children, and our children grow up thinking that it is cool, it is fashionable. That is where we need to prune. That is where we need to cut. Because, Mr. Speaker, if we do not deal with the perverse influences, the perverse advertising, and the perverse glorification of alcohol and cigarettes that we see in mainstream media, our children will find themselves enslaved by it. Mr. Speaker, regulating morals is extremely difficult. What some countries have done is to try to ride the tiger. And Mr. Speaker, there is an ongoing conversation now related to what we are discussing on a policy for regulation and control and distribution of alcohol in this country. Mr. Speaker, we have seen a lot of proposals coming up that will make it very, very difficult for young people to access alcohol and for alcohol to be widely accepted. But, Mr. Speaker, let us be fair. Let us be honest with each other. If someone at 18 is mature enough to vote, then that person can make other decisions in their lives. If you're going to be pushing these ages higher, then you'd rather say that you start voting at 21, you start driving at 21, because that is the age where you can have alcohol or you can have nicotine products. We must be careful around these things. And Mr. Speaker, certain countries have built entire economies on some of these products, of course ensuring that there is quality and there is consistency in their production. Mr. Speaker, Cuban cigars are very famous and they fetch good money. They built a brand around it. But building a brand around it does not mean that it is abused domestically. Because a Cuban cigar is so expensive that an average Cuban worker cannot afford it and cannot smoke it for leisure. So it has been positioned as a luxury product. Other countries have done similar with alcoholic products. Mr. Speaker, the French have their cognac, and they talk of cognac diplomacy. When you meet a French diplomat and you are given the choice between cognac and scotch, they will insist on cognac because it tells the story of the French. They have their champagne that only comes, the grapes come from only one part of that country. And they have made it to become a luxury product, not accessible to the hoi polloi, but they sell it to us. They sell it to the upper classes of third world countries. When you go to Scotland, the Scotch have their Scotch whiskey, and they have branded it to an extent that one would want to drink the oldest. Mr. Speaker, you find someone drinking a 50-year-old whiskey, and themselves they are not even 50 years by age. Because it has been branded, and psychologically we have been made to believe that this is it. When you have made it in life, you should not be drinking 12-year-old whiskey, you should be drinking 50-year-old whiskey. If you go to America, they've got their bourbon. Mr. Speaker, even our neighbors, Uganda, they've got their waraji. Tanzania, they've got their konyagi. Nigeria, they've got their ogogoro. And you can scan the entire world. Jamaica, they've got their rum. Certain countries like South Africa are famous for their wine that comes from the Stellenbosch region. Mr. Speaker, we must mix, we must blend between making sure that we build products that can build our economy but also ensuring that the adverse and perverse effects, our citizens are shielded from it. Mr. Speaker, I know that you are a man who loves literary works, and I want to invite the House to read a very interesting story by Leo Tolstoy. It is entitled The Imp and the Crust. Leo Tolstoy tries to tell the story of how man discovered alcohol. It is not a very nice story. And it is a story that says that the devil came to enslave man. And that is why the story is entitled The Imp and the Crust. Very, very interesting. And I want to encourage even the children who are in the gallery to read that story. You will realize that things like alcohol, things like cigarettes, perhaps are inventions of the devil, intended to enslave us and intended to keep us in a state where we are dazed and we are not able to work hard and we are not able to praise and give worship to God who created humanity. Mr. Speaker, let me finalize by saying that sometimes when we do good regulations like this or good laws like this, we then provide an opportunity for rent-seeking for the enforcement officers. Mr. Speaker, we have seen some things that happen at our airports. Immediately, we pass this law. I am sure that some rogue customs and border officers will be asking tourists to open up their suitcases. And if they find a vaping device, then they will use that to seek rent. We have seen where counties have come up with alcohol restriction laws. I think Nairobi City came up with certain tobacco restriction laws. Mr. Speaker, they went ahead to deploy plainclothes policemen to walk around and to frustrate. If you're found somewhere with a cigarette, they would handcuff you and they would demand some bribe from you and they would generally embarrass you. Let us make sure that enforcement of these regulations and enforcement of this statute does not open another backdoor for rent-seeking, for opportunistic behaviors from our enforcement officers. And Mr. Speaker, let us also allow county governments to be in this space because the fourth schedule of the Constitution makes things like tobacco control and liquor licensing to be a function of county governments. All these policy directives coming from NACADA, coming from the national government, must be owned and must be bought into by the county governments. Mr. Speaker, this is a good innovation. This will protect our young people from the adverse effects of these devices. And Mr. Speaker, we must support this, but we must fine-tune it to ensure that we are not trying to regulate morals. We must deal with the root cause that drives our children into tobacco abuse, into alcohol abuse, and into drug abuse. I support, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kajwang. You have announced so many textbooks, story books to read. Maybe if you do me some favor, you write them down because I could not even get what you mentioned. So you give me the list and I can give them books. Honorable Senators, let me make this communication as we proceed with the contributions. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting teachers and students from Kibiricha Junior Secondary School in Meru County. The delegation comprises 5 teachers and 60 students who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. Honorable Senators, in our ancient tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Thank you. Now, Honorable Senator, since I'm on the chair, I'll give this opportunity to my friend, other sister from Meru, from Kitui, but we took her to Meru, and she accepted to be a Marian. Senator Tabitha Mutinda, invite these people. But before you do that, let me say that this is a good school from my county. And I schooled at Kibiricha boys, they're in Kibiricha girls. in an area that is very, very conducive for running. So proceed and welcome the visitors.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to welcome my small brothers and sisters from Kibiricha Junior Secondary School in my matrimonial county, Meru, the great county of Meru, where our speaker, represents. And as you've heard, when Senator Kajang was doing his submissions and mentioned so many books, your speaker loves a lot of reading, as you can tell by wanting to read more and more books. He has also stated he's an alumni of Kibiricha Boys, an indication that the motto of the school, he has continued with it up to the floor of this house, that reading and acquiring knowledge and the skills that are required is the best way to go. These are the skills that nobody will ever take away from you. Education is the weapon that nobody will ever take away from you. And also the future belongs to those who believe in it. You have a bright future. Meru is where I'm married, is my other home. Apart from where I've come from, I'm happy to be here. And you can also be here. Anybody can be in this particular space. I want to tell the young people, respect your teachers. Enjoy your studies. There is no reverse. You have a very good opportunity. Some of us did not even have an opportunity in the schools that we used to be to even have an opportunity to come to the Gallery of Parliament. You have one. Use it well and make the best out of it. I wish you well. I wish you God's blessings. And I think my network tells me that the speaker had sent something for you. It's my prayer. I see the heads are nodding that you've received whatever he has sent to you, and may God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, let us hear the perspective of this bill from the Vice Chair of Health, and then we proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, first, I have to appreciate Senator Muma for coming up with this amendment. Mr. Speaker, the parent bill, the last amendment was 2009, Mr. Speaker, before devolution. Mr. Speaker, that showed that there is a gap in our tobacco control bill. So Senator Muma now decide that gap. She has seen the gap and she decided to do that. And I stand to support the bill. Mr. Speaker, if I go direct to the bill, Mr. Speaker, in the first definition of the smoking, it has been done very well. It has incorporated nicotine. And also when it comes to tobacco products, because in the parent bill, it doesn't have, it has a tobacco product, but with no synthetic nicotine definitions. So that means that the objective of the bill is to come up with a regulation of the electronic nicotine bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in a section 3, where the Senator Muma amends on the one person nominated by the county government, I appreciate that because this bill, the parent bill, is done before the devolutions, and now this one is considering the county government. That is more of involving devolution. Mr. Speaker, Section 7, amendment, Section 4, which is amendment of Section 7, which gives 50% of the fees paid for testing and approval of the products. When it comes to approval and testing, Mr. Speaker, as my opinion, I think one of the senators also bring that opinion on board on the approval and testing power, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that we have to separate the role of the power, the approval and the testing. The approval to be done by the Cabinet Secretary for Health, and the testing to be done by Kenya Bureau of Standard. Because if we do, I know it is bureaucratic for the approval and testing, but to restrict these consumptions and also for the industries players not to do some other bribery issues, we need to separate the approval and the testing. On the 50%, my suggestion is also, Mr. Speaker, the consumption of the consumers of these products, in the long run, they end up in health problems, in the lungs cancer and so forth. Mr. Speaker, in SHA, there is a chronic illness fund. So in this, we have to have, maybe my suggestion is the 2% from the source to be deducted to go to the chronic and illness fund. That is one of the amendments which I may suggest on that, so that at least those affected people on the lungs cancers and many other chronic diseases can be catered for in health-wise, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for the volume of narcotic system in the electronic cigarette, which she suggested, Senator Muma suggested 10 mg, and internationally it is 20 mg limit, which is suggested by, that is an industry players, that's their suggestion. That showed that they wanted to be, the consumers to be more addictive. To reduce that, we need to reduce the volume of the nicotine in the cigarette, Mr. Speaker. So I agree with the 10%, 10 mg nicotine in the cigarette. Mr. Speaker, there is also, when it comes to also flavors, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these electronic cigarettes are in packaging in some kind of packaging. Like there is a filter pen, there is a flash disk, of which an ordinary person, me myself, I cannot know until maybe somebody can, maybe an experienced person can tell me this is what is a cigarette, Mr. Speaker. And also, if at all it has a smell, I can recognize, but it has so many flavors that you cannot even think that this person is smoking the cigarette, Mr. Speaker. So to my opinion, and with the agreement of the Senator Muma, we ban the flavor. And in any way, if you are a smoker, why do you have to hide? And also, to be set aside to our youth, our kids at home, Mr. Speaker, we ban this flavor so that we see for the behaviors of our kids at home, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for the online sales or hawkers and also adverts online, Mr. Speaker, there's easy accessibility for our youth, Mr. Speaker. To restrict, we have to restrict online sales, because nowadays all of us do sales on when we are on our bedroom, Mr. Speaker. So to avoid that, and our youth, maybe you thought that they are doing some other things, maybe they are even ordering this thing online, Mr. Speaker. To avoid that, we have to restrict mode of sales, that is online sales, and also advertisement, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other thing is warning written on the electronic cigarette, Mr. Speaker. The industry players suggested that is we cannot do because maybe some of them is like a pen, and writing that warning on that, it will be a tiny thing. So we decided as a committee, no, the warning must be written in any cigarettes and also electronic cigarette, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my suggestion on the also licensing requirement, Mr. Speaker, the way liquor license is different from others, let also tobacco license, electronic cigarette to be different, so that it cannot be sold in anywhere, because currently can be sold in a kiosk in anywhere. But if we restrict the licensing, it is more of controlling measures so that anyone can access the substances, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other one is about the board. And the board, I have already highlighted that Senator Muma has cooperated the county government, of which senators, the oversighting and Senate and county government, Mr. Speaker. There is also the matter of there is a control fund, tobacco control fund. As I have already highlighted, Mr. Speaker, the fund which is in tobacco control fund, Mr. Speaker, currently they are not using properly because they are getting the money from Exchequer. Mr. Speaker, that percentage of the 2% or 5% roughly can be deducted to take to chronic illness fund. Mr. Speaker, in section 5, there is a place supplies to and by young person, Mr. Speaker, that is restricting no person should be sell tobacco products to a person under 18. Mr. Speaker, that shows that we can, kids nowadays, but with this accessibility of the electronic cigarette, which is not regulated, it is everywhere, Mr. Speaker, in primary school even, leave of secondary school, Mr. Speaker. So we have to, if we pass this bill, our primary school and secondary schools will be safe because they are under 18 and it will be safe. Mr. Speaker, for the promotions and the advertisements and the sponsor, Mr. Speaker, they are not supposed to sell no person should advertise the tobacco product on any medium of electronic, printed, or any other form of communications, because that is under online selling, on the online advert, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is also prohibiting smoking area, which we have to regularize. The bill restricted where not to smoke the cigarette, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is highly recommended that we are not supposed to, in a working area, there must be a strategic place for cigarette smoking area, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Commissioner of Congo Mugeni, a Senator for Nyamira County.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you for the opportunity you have given me to contribute to this bill that has been sponsored by my good friend, Senator Catherine Muma. Mr. Speaker, I begin by saluting Senator Catherine Muma for coming up with a bill that, Mr. Speaker, poses a big, the use of e-cigarettes that is being addressed in this bill poses a big challenge to the future of our children. And I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, I'm making my contribution when in the gallery there are a number of students who I believe will pay some attention to what I'm going to say. Mr. Speaker, I've read the memorandum of object and reasons in support of this bill, and I want to begin by making an appeal to my good friend Senator Muma because of what I'm going to state on this floor. We should amend our statement of object and reasons for the bill. Instead of saying that the bill seeks to ensure that no products, particularly electronic nicotine delivery systems, are manufactured, distributed, or imported or sold in Kenya without the prior authorization of the Cabinet Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I'll propose that we should amend this bill to ban totally the use of e-cigarettes in this country. Mr. Speaker, if my good friend Catherine Muma, Senator, is persuaded, we should amend this bill and propose for a total ban of e-cigarettes in this country. Mr. Speaker, if you speak to any doctor, I was present in a sitting of the Health Committee when we received views from a number of stakeholders. And Mr. Speaker, one of the stakeholders in that meeting was a widow of a son of a former cabinet secretary, a former minister during Moi's government, the widow of the late Peter Olo Aringo Jr. Mr. Speaker, I took videos of the presentation of that lady, the widow of the late Peter Olo Aringo Jr. And Mr. Speaker, that Kenyan who appeared before that committee had very convincing health-backed scientific reasons why we should not allow e-cigarettes to be sold in this country, Mr. Speaker. And I don't think, Mr. Speaker, as members of this august House, we should legislate to allow products that are harmful to our children to be sold in this country, Mr. Speaker. I've seen the proposals in the bill, especially in section 15, where we are saying that we are going to prohibit smoking of e-cigarettes in our homes. Mr. Speaker, do you have capacity of banning your 18-year-old from smoking e-cigarettes in your own home? What will be the legal consequence? The best thing we can do, Mr. Speaker, is to keep these products away from our borders. And Mr. Speaker, science, the research around science supports banning of e-cigarettes. The WHO itself, Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy that the chair of health is now here. He was in that meeting, Mr. Speaker, when we got that presentation from the widow of Peter Olo Aringo Jr., Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, WHO has warned us. WHO has warned nations all over the world, Mr. Speaker, that allowing e-cigarettes consumption in any country, the risk you're posing is to the children, the young people of those countries. They say the people at risk is not us, the senior citizens, 50 years and above. No. Nobody's going to convince you, Mr. Speaker, at your age to start consumption of e-cigarettes. No. But WHO is saying in countries that e-cigarette is allowed, about 50% of the customers of e-cigarette smoking are children between the age of 15 and 24. Mr. Speaker. Just look at that risk, that as a country, we are putting at risk a very vulnerable generation of 15 to 24 at the risk of getting addicted to e-cigarettes. And then WHO is telling us, Mr. Speaker, that the easiest way of moving into conventional smoking is by allowing e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker. Honestly, Mr. Speaker, why should we, barely because we want to look at commercial interest in terms of the tax that we are going to get, to destroy the future generation, simply because we are saying we want the government not to lose tax? Because in that meeting, Mr. Speaker, we had stakeholders in that meeting, and all they were telling us, Mr. Speaker, is that if you ban e-cigarettes, there will be a drop in revenue in terms of tax collection that will go to the government. Mr. Speaker, we should not substitute the future of our children with commercial interests, Mr. Speaker. As a country, we should never, Mr. Speaker. And then, Mr. Speaker, we are not an island. We are a family of nations, Mr. Speaker. There are countries that have been bold enough that have banned totally e-cigarettes within their jurisdictions. Even our neighbors, Uganda, President Kaguta Yoweri Museveni has totally banned e-cigarettes in Uganda, Mr. Speaker, through the Tobacco Control Act of Uganda, Mr. Speaker. If Museveni, our neighbor here, can forego tax income from e-cigarettes and still the country is surviving, why not us, Mr. Speaker? Why not us, Mr. Speaker? In Asia, Mr. Speaker, Thailand has totally banned the use of e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker. If you read medical journals, Mr. Speaker, the professional body of doctors in the UK gave a scientific paper on the risk posed by e-cigarette that led to the banning, Mr. Speaker, total banning of e-flavored cigarettes in the UK, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I was to have my way, this bill requires us to retreat. We'll be locked up in a hole somewhere, Mr. Speaker. And we call professionals. Let doctors speak to us on only one issue. Does e-cigarette smoking pose a risk to the health of our youths? And Mr. Speaker, if, as I've read myself, if they are able to bring evidence that shows that e-cigarettes poses a risk to our young children, Mr. Speaker, the best thing to do in the best national interest, Mr. Speaker, because we should be legislating, bearing in mind that we are doing it in the best interest of the country, not commercial, Mr. Speaker, best interest of the country. If we are convinced so, Mr. Speaker, then we should all unanimously agree that we should ban e-cigarettes. If you destroy a generation of between 15 to 24 years, Mr. Speaker, it means that you have you don't have a generation that will take over from us, Mr. Speaker. If you address the health concerns, Mr. Speaker, health concerns of e-cigarette consumption, they are serious, Mr. Speaker. One, e-cigarette consumption, Senator Catherine Muma, leads to serious lung damage, what doctors call a popcorn lung, Mr. Speaker. And do you know the serious risk, Senator Wambua, is that when you smoke an e-cigarette, you don't feel like it can harm you. Because, Mr. Speaker, it is smooth. It is so smooth. It goes down to the lungs very smoothly. Not like, you know, I'm speaking like I've tried it, but that's what I was told in that meeting. That it goes down so smoothly, deep to your lung, okay? And you don't realize that it's causing some damage to your lung. But slowly by slowly, Mr. Speaker, it damages the airwaves around your lungs. And in that meeting, we were told, Mr. Speaker, that there are documented cases, where young people just collapse and die. And the cause, e-cigarette smoking. Mr. Speaker, why should we handle such a problem with gloves? We should hit the nail on the head, Mr. Speaker, and say, as a country, we are not going to tolerate anything called e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker, in this country. The second health concern, Mr. Speaker, is nicotine addiction. This e-cigarette is the easiest way of becoming an addict, a smoking addict, Mr. Speaker. Because you look at it like it's fashionable, you know. Young people look at it like it's fashionable, but before you realize it, you become addicted to it, Mr. Speaker. Even what's more worrying, Mr. Speaker, is what doctors are telling us, that these e-cigarettes have some harmful chemicals in it. They call it diacetyl. I don't know that I pronounce it well. There is an harmful chemical they use to do the flavors in those e-cigarettes. And our children take them innocently, Mr. Speaker. We shouldn't allow such a thing to happen. We are here as leaders who should be conscious that we need to protect the future of our young generation. And the best thing we can do, Mr. Speaker, is to be remembered that the 13th Parliament banned e-cigarettes. Mr. Speaker, I've said there are so many countries. You travel in all continents. You go to the Americas, Mr. Speaker, you will find that Argentina has totally banned e-cigarettes, Brazil, Mexico. That's in the Americas. In Asia, Mr. Speaker, there are many countries, including Thailand, Mr. Speaker, I've just said, Singapore, India, Mr. Speaker. You come to Africa, I've given the case of Uganda, there is the case of Gambia. Let us include Kenya there, Mr. Speaker. Let Kenya be among those countries, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, even if you were to remove the health concerns for our young people, there is another problem, Mr. Speaker. The world is currently discussing about issues dealing with environmental conservation, Mr. Speaker. But these e-cigarettes pose a serious risk to our environment, Mr. Speaker, because the products used are non-biodegradable. Non-biodegradable, meaning that you use an e-cigarette, what remains? You throw it to the environment, you are destroying our environment, Mr. Speaker. And that's why countries like UK, Mr. Speaker, have totally banned disposable e-cigarettes. Okay? Because they are conscious that we need to protect the environment, Mr. Speaker. So I want to urge my good friend, Senator Catherine Muma, you have an opportunity to really, go on record as a senator who brought a bill that wants to protect the future of our young children. We all know, Mr. Speaker, how vulnerable our youths are in terms of some of the products that look very, very attractive, but pose serious health concerns to them, Mr. Speaker. So let us all come together, Mr. Speaker, and rally everybody to support the total banning of e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker. There's a time, Mr. Speaker, we traveled with the health committee to Cuba. And Mr. Speaker, in Cuba, we were taken to farms that make tobacco, Mr. Speaker. And I was impressed, though I'm not a smoker, Senator Wambua, but I was impressed that in Cuba, the people who make cigarettes are extremely conscious of the risks that cigarettes pose to human beings, especially the products that are used in manufacturing cigarettes. So what they do, Mr. Speaker, is they roll that cigarettes using the tobacco leaf itself. They don't use any external material. The cigarette is made from that tobacco leaf itself. And the WHO is telling us, Mr. Speaker, it's better to smoke that tobacco rolled in that tobacco leaf than to smoke an e-cigarette. We have tobacco in Korea. If we want to allow consumption of tobacco, let us promote the traditional tobacco smoking. Before industrialization, I'm sure our grandfathers used to smoke tobacco the traditional way. You fold the leaf and you smoke it, natural from the farm, Mr. Speaker. But this one of e-cigarette, Mr. Speaker, we should not entertain the selling of e-cigarettes in our country. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to go to the details of what is contained in the bill, but I also want to draw concern on some of the provisions I continuously keep seeing on our bills. We keep saying, like what I'm seeing in Section 3, that we need one person nominated by a Council of County Governors, Mr. Speaker. Have you ever seen, even one day, an advert in a newspaper from the Council of Governors inviting Kenyans to apply to be appointed to any board, Mr. Speaker? What has been happening is that you put this clause, friends or supporters of governors are the ones who are nominated to sit in these bodies. If we want to entertain the involvement of, it's called COG, Council of County Governors, in some of these legislations, Mr. Speaker, we should say nominated through a competitive process, so that we rotate all these positions. We have 47 counties, Mr. Speaker. If one legislation, a representative is picked from Meru, next time it should be Kitui. In another legislation, it should be from Nyamira, Mr. Speaker. But this one of just saying nominated by Council of County Governors, Mr. Speaker, without a merit-based process, you will get that it's just friends of maybe, and I'm not referring to the current chairman, but probably it's just friends of either the chairman, or if there is a committee that deals with issues of tobacco, they are the ones who select people to sit there. Let us make it merit-based, competitive. Senator Wambua, this matter is dear, and I hope I've convinced one or two senators, including yourself, yes, that we should support total banning of e-cigarettes. I've said the WHO supports that position. We have several cases. We can take best examples from countries that have banned it, then we join the progressive countries that want to protect our children. With those remarks, Mr. Speaker, sir,
very well.
I support.
Thank you, Commissioner. Senator Wambua Enoch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to also add my voice on this bill sponsored by our friend, our colleague, Senator Catherine Muma. Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by, of course, congratulating Senator Muma for bringing this bill for us to debate, take a vote, and then make a decision on which way to go in matters relating to e-cigarettes. Mr. Speaker, it should be remembered by all of us that from around 2017, or 2016, 2017, 2018, when e-cigarettes started making an appearance on our land through the then very famous shisha and vapes, to date, Mr. Speaker, is more than 8 years. And there is no law, even from the county assemblies, to regulate the sale and consumption of e-cigarettes. Mr. Speaker, even more worrying is the ease with which any person, irrespective of age, can access these e-cigarettes through the various websites. Mr. Speaker, and if that is not worrying enough, then you'll be worried, Mr. Speaker, by realizing the amount of nicotine packed into those vapes by the manufacturers and the dealers. The Speaker, here in Kenya, and I've had my own conversations with the promoter of the bill, and she has shown me vapes containing as much as 12,000 puffs in small units, others with 2,500 puffs, others with 9,000 puffs. Whereas, Mr. Speaker, from the manufacturers, the countries that manufacture these vapes and sell to our children in Kenya, the maximum number of puffs in those gadgets is 600. So, Mr. Speaker, it begs the question, if we are not just a dumping ground for those dangerous vapes, then what are we? The Speaker, we have a duty as leaders to protect our children. Yes, arguments have been put forth that at the age of 18, we should let our children make decisions on what they want to do with their lives. But, Mr. Speaker, truth be told, this is one avenue where an argument can be put forward that it provides fertile grounds for child abuse and killing the future of our children. I'm happy today, Mr. Speaker, because we are debating this bill when we have students visiting us from different schools. And they need to hear it from us, Mr. Speaker, that this is not a question of us legislating on morals, because we cannot do that. We can't even begin to legislate on morals. The Senator for Nyamira, the senior counsel, and our commissioner in the Parliamentary Service Commission, has proposed an engagement, a conversation between us as legislators and the Ministry of Health on the dangers of e-cigarettes. The Speaker, I want to expound on that proposal and suggest that such conversation should happen between three parties. One, the legislature, so that we come up with a law that is relevant to the reality of our time. The second partner or party to that conversation should be that Ministry of Health, and what we should be asking them to tell us from research is whether there is any known benefit of inhaling e-cigarettes, any known benefit. They bring it on the table. And then, the Speaker, the third party to that conversation should be the CS Treasury to tell us how much money do we get in tax revenue from trading in e-cigarettes, and the amount of money that we use, the Speaker, to treat ailments emanating from inhaling e-cigarettes. So, Speaker, we may be surprised to realize that it is a zero-sum game. In fact, we could be spending a lot more money on treatment for ailments associated with e-cigarettes and for rehabilitation of people, young people, and even adults that have been hooked and in rehabilitation centers than the amount of money that we get in taxes. Mr. Speaker, if it is true, and I don't doubt it, that Uganda, our neighbor, has decided to forego the revenue emanating from taxes on e-cigarettes, why should we have a problem with making that decision? Mr. Speaker, I am inclined, and you know this is the beauty of debate, I'm inclined to think along the lines of my colleague, Senator Eric Mogeni, that perhaps actually what we should do is to ban trade in e-cigarettes and consumption of e-cigarettes in this country. For a good reason, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know, I've also realized that for some reason in this country, and I'm not saying this because I belong to the other side of the political divide, but Mr. Speaker, I've also realized that people are a bit timid in making bold decisions. Today, Mr. Speaker, I saw a very bold decision which asks a lot of our people in Tanzania, where the government has just decided to limit the businesses that non-citizens of Tanzania can be engaged in while in Tanzania. They have even gone ahead, Mr. Speaker, to say that any local, any citizen who in any way facilitates a non-citizen to carry out certain businesses, including, Mr. Speaker, our own global innovation on M-Pesa trading, that any Tanzanian who aids any person from outside Tanzania to carry out money transfer, electronic money transfer, or telephone-based money transfer, commits a crime and is liable to a fine and a term in jail. Mr. Speaker, that decision in itself is a bad decision for us, but it is a bold decision. As Speaker, we can take bold decisions in this country and say that because the benefits of trading in and consuming e-cigarettes, Mr. Speaker, face to nothing compared to the losses in terms of health, then we should take the bold decision and do away with e-cigarettes in this country. Mr. Speaker, again, in this country you realize that the websites that are selling e-cigarettes, there is, Mr. Speaker, so much of those products, so many of them, packaged in ways that are very, very attractive to young people. I've had, Mr. Speaker, an opportunity to look at some of them packaged as marker pens, you know, looking beautiful mark pens. Some of them looking like toys. Some looking like sweets. No, lollipops. And, Mr. Speaker, to add injury to, or insult to injury, Mr. Speaker, they are flavored. You know, it's a chocolate flavor, no strawberry flavor. So when you consume, you actually convince yourself, and I heard Senator Mogeni saying it goes in so smoothly, but he also made a rejoinder that he has not tried it. The Speaker, that must all be subjected to some analysis. We need to be sure. The way he explained it, it seems like a person who has first-hand experience, you know. It goes in so smoothly. And imagine it going down so smoothly for young people. And it is sold as a sweet with strawberry flavor. What will stop our kids from buying these products, Mr. Speaker? And then they get hooked to nicotine. Mr. Speaker, as I said, first of all, as a stopgap measure, as we move now towards a conversation on the ban, let us be very clear that you cannot have those products on Kenyan soil if and when they are flavored. Let's begin from there. That you can, nicotine is nicotine, cigarette is cigarette. It must smell as it should. I mean, it must taste as it should. Don't put flavors into it to make it attractive or want to conceal the dangers of cigarette smoking. Mr. Speaker, the bill as proposed, the amendment as proposed by Senator Catherine Muma, in Section 8, is the one that addresses the packaging and bans the sale, open sale of e-cigarettes in public vehicles, in public spaces. No, that's Section 9. Section 8 deals with the packaging using items that appeal to underage children, like sweets and toys. All that is good. The Speaker, as I conclude, I want to make an observation about that Section 3, the inclusion of a person nominated by the Council of Governors in the board. Mr. Speaker, going forward, I think this Senate will have to make a decision on how to engage with the Council of Governors. We must decide whether they are a body that we can give legal responsibilities, and then in that case, make a decision on how they will be funded, or just decide that they are an amorphous body and then we don't assign any roles and responsibilities to them. So this case is very confusing. When governors appear before committees of the Senate, they are hard-pressed to explain how they are spending money on COG activities. But when we legislate, we assign roles and responsibilities to COG. Mr. Speaker, that decision, and because I know, Mr. Speaker, you are the chair, the able chair of the Legal Affairs Department. Mr. Speaker, you must unbundle that confusion for this Senate. That from one side of the mouth, the Senate is saying, you know, the COG should undertake these responsibilities. On the other side of the mouth, you are putting governors on the spot for spending money to facilitate the COG to undertake activities that you as the Senate have given to them. Mr. Speaker, this this is not, it doesn't look good. And because you sit there as a speaker and we know your abilities, the speaker do something about that. So that then we don't have situations where we are making laws and every time we are debating a bill, it has a role that has been assigned to the COG, and yet we are not very, very clear on the legality of that body called the COG. Now, the Speaker, with those many remarks, I congratulate Senator Muma for bringing up this bill and challenge Senator Muma and challenge this House to push this government to make bold decisions and backed by legislation that we are going to pass to ban the trade in and consumption of e-cigarettes in this country. If the World Health Organization, the Speaker, has pronounced itself on the dangers of e-cigarettes, and we have examples from our neighbors who have imposed that ban, and we have examples from the countries where these e-cigarettes emanate, who have taken drastic and bold measures to regulate. Mr. Speaker, we should be bold enough to say that we should push for a ban on e-cigarettes. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I support.
Senator Wambua, I took note of the comments you made regarding that proposal by Senator Muma as regards the membership which you are proposing to come from the Council of Governors. And it's something that, remember, there has been litigation as to the legality of that council, and definitely will take appropriate action. Senior Counsel Kongo Mogeni knows the extent with which such actions can, such positions can be pushed through the House, and I think it is worth the comments you made, and I definitely will also, as a chair of JLAC, undertake what needs to be undertaken. Now, honorable members, there is no other member who is seeking to contribute to this particular bill, and therefore I will call upon the mover, Senator Catherine Muma, to reply on this very important bill.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to most sincerely thank colleagues who have taken time to read this bill and have contributed and enriched my thinking on this bill. I'd like to specifically thank Senator Veronica Minas, Senator Olekina, Senator Majority Leader Senator Aaron Cheruyot, Senator Cherarke, Senator Tabitha Mutinda, Senator Kisang, yours truly, Speaker Senator Sigei, Senator Kajwang, Senator Marian, Senator Mogeni, Senior Counsel, and Senator Wambua, who have contributed in a very profound way. Honorable Speaker, I am glad that colleagues appreciate that this is not just a legislative adventure by Catherine Muma, it is a responsibility that we need to take on as a House. I hope a responsibility that we will deliver and deliver soon, a responsibility that I hope we can persuade the National Assembly to actually deliver as well. A responsibility that I'd like to call on industry to not block. A responsibility that I'm asking the Ministry of Health to take seriously. In fact, to the CS Duale, to the extent that the officers in the Ministry of Health have allowed a whole 8 years of business that is ruining our children to keep going unchecked. I think they need to admit they have failed this nation and they must be part of the solution. They must not be part of the problem. Honorable Speaker, a number of proposals have been made. I take note of Senator Cheruyot's proposal around the need to use the opportunity to see whether we can put greater responsibility to the Tobacco Control Board, which seems to work for the industry more than it works for the people of Kenya. He has made some proposals, and I will go and sit with him about how we hold them accountable to what they're supposed to do. He has made proposals around the fund that they have, how that fund can be used to be plowed back to ensure that we sensitize our society better around the ills of smoking and of the e-cigarettes as they have come. Senator Mogeni, Senator Wambua would prefer that we totally ban the e-cigarettes. They have, that is on the other end, but we have senators also who say that the business is there. Our responsibility is to ensure that we regulate this so that our children are out of harm. There is those who have talked about going beyond nicotine-based products. Is it Senator Kajwang who talked about the e-weed? It is something, again, I will have a chat with him to see, is there a clause that might be able to deal with that? There are those who've raised issues around taxation, responsibilities of KEBS, NACADA, and so on. There are those who have brought suggestion that I also include a definition on synthetic nicotine and so on. A profound one comes in around how we get the COG to be reflected in this bill, whether we want COG to be reflected or whether we want to give responsibility to county governments, and even if we do so, to ensure that there is meritocracy in the nomination. Honorable Senators, I really, really appreciate. I just want to tell you that I think this is quite important. Allow me to just make one demonstration. Senator Wambua, you are here. This gadget that I am holding that has 12,000 puffs, in Kenya, if you go to the UK and the EU and China, minimum nicotine content is 20 milligrams per milliliter. In Kenya, and this gadget in particular, is 50 mg per milliliter. And this, in the UK and the EU, a gadget cannot have more than 6,000 puffs. This gadget has 12,000 puffs. So now if you have a naughty 10-year-old who gets access to one gadget in the EU, and one who gets access in Kenya to this gadget, the child in the EU needs to go to the shop 60 times in order to achieve the content of nicotine in this gadget in Kenya. So can you imagine your child in Kenya having one gadget in their bedroom, puffing away this gadget, but the one who's being not in the EU must be extremely innovative to go to the shop 60 times. That is how we are killing our children. Now, there are those who've raised the issue of how will you monitor residents. Now, the issue is that the law on the protection of children does not say that if your father is a smoker, it is okay for you to smoke. So how will we protect children, for instance, who must passively smoke because their father is a smoker? When you talk about residents, and the children get to know that a household is a place where you should not be smoking. Number one, even when they're coming in, they need to be careful. Number two, a careful parent will take that law seriously, will actually go outside of that house when they want to smoke. So it's not just a law in vain. Even though it may not be implemented, it sends a serious message that we are also worried about the children of those of you who smoke, that they are equal children with equal right in these countries, and we are cognizant of the fact that you might be making them passive smokers in your house. So I'd like members to look at this in this regard. I'd like to tell the chair of the Committee of Health and members that this law is so important. I am open to actually sitting with you and bringing any amendments that would add value to this law. So do not be aggrieved that I moved forward. It is just that a year later, I think it's too long for us to move. And therefore, I am open to that. With those remarks, thank you so much. Thank you also to the Secretariat, Directorate of Legal, who helped to draft this law. My team, which has researched, I keep sending them, can you go and research what does this mean, who have actually worked on this, and I would like to thank you for all of this. Now, pursuant to Standing Order 66A, I request for the deferment of putting the question to a later date. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Catherine Muma. Pursuant to, yes, she has replied. Kindly rephrase the closing comment.
Honorable Speaker, I reply. And pursuant to Standing Order 66, I request for the deferment of putting of the question. Thank you.
That's now in order. Thank you. Now, pursuant to Standing Order 66, the putting of the question is hereby deferred to the next sitting of the House. And now, honorable members, for the convenience of the House, we will rearrange the order paper and call order number 20. Clerk, please call out order number 20.
Order number 20, motion, reports of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on its inquiry into the state of markets in Vihiga and Bungoma counties arising from a statement sought by Senator Godfrey Osotsi and Senator David Wakoli.
Senator Catherine.
Mr. Speaker, on Wednesday, 27th March 2024, the Senator for Bungoma County, Senator David Wafula Wakoli, MP, rose pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations regarding the state of markets in Bungoma County. Similarly, on Tuesday, 12th March, the Senator for Vihiga County, Senator Godfrey Osotsi, MP, rose pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a similar statement from the committee regarding the state of markets in Vihiga. Mr. Speaker, in the statement, Senator Wakoli, MP, the Senator for Bungoma County, sought a report to state on the state of key markets in Bungoma, including but not limited to Chepkube in Bungoma Town, Misihu, Kamukuywa, Matisi, Bukembe, Mateka, Chwele, Kimilili, Cheptais, Sirisia, Kapkateni, Kapsokwani, Kabula, Kandui, Mayanja, and Mateka, specifically addressing the availability and functionality of essential services such as water supply, street lighting, infrastructure, waste management, and sanitation. Additionally, he requested to be furnished with a status update of all market improvements and or expansion projects initiated by County Government of Bungoma for the financial year 2013 to 2014 to date. From the financial year 2013 to 2014 to date. Further, the Senator requested for a breakdown of the on-source revenues generated by the county government from each market from 2018-2019 to date, giving a comparison of the revenue to the total cost incurred for services, construction, and market improvements, as well as the amount retained from the revenue. Similarly, in the statement by Senator Godfrey Osotsi, CBS MP, the senator for Vihiga County sought a report on the state of key markets in Vihiga, including but not limited to Mbale, Majengo, Luanda, Serem, Chavakali, Cheptulu, Shamahoho, Esibuye, and Mudete markets, specifically addressing the availability and functionality of essential services such as water supply, street lighting, water management, and sanitation. Mr. Speaker, in considering the statement, the committee wrote to the county government of Bungoma and the county government of Vihiga, asking them to submit a response regarding the issues raised in the statements. Further, the committee resolved to undertake visits to Bungoma and Vihiga to inspect the various markets as requested in the statements. The committee visited Bungoma County on Friday, 21st June 2024, where they held a meeting with the deputy governor and later proceeded for an inspection of the markets. The committee inspected Chepkube, Bukembe, and Kamukuyo markets, where they held meetings with the market management development committees and had engagements with the market traders to receive their memorandum and submissions stating the challenges they face and their proposals of market improvements. The committee visited Vihiga County on Saturday, 22nd June 2024, where they held a meeting with the governor and members of the county executive committee and later proceeded for an inspection of the markets. The committee inspected Mbale, Serem, Majengo, Esibuye, and Luanda markets, where they held meetings with the market management development committees and had engagements with the market traders. Mr. Speaker, the committee did an in-depth analysis of the stakeholders' submissions and made various observations which are set in Chapter 4 of these reports. The committee observed that the markets have the necessary essential services, that is water, street lighting, sanitation, and waste management, although they face challenges of inadequacy, vandalism, and poor maintenance. Additionally, the markets face a number of challenges which include congestion due to limited space, poor drainage and sewerage systems, and insecurity that hinder business of the traders. Based on its findings and observation, the committee made various recommendations which are set out in Chapter 5 of these reports. The committee recommended that the two respective county governments should ensure provision of adequate services to markets, provide a safe and comfortable working environment for the traders, and address the specific challenges facing traders in each market. Mr. Speaker, may I take this opportunity to commend the members of the committee for their devotion and commitment to duty, which made the consideration of the statements successful. I also wish to thank the Office of the Speaker and the Clerk of the Senate for the support extended to the committee in undertaking these important assignments. Lastly, I wish to thank the stakeholders who presented their submissions on the statements of the committee. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I wish to move this motion and request that the House adopts reports of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on its consideration of the statements sought by Senator David Wafula Wakoli MP regarding the state of markets in Bungoma County and the statement sought by Senator Godfrey Osotsi, CBS MP, on the state of markets in Vihiga. I now call upon Senator Oburu to second.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, sir, I was one of the members of the Senate who visited these markets in Bungoma and in Vihiga, and indeed I appreciate the commitment of the stakeholders whom we met everywhere we went, and we also thank the members of the Senate who requested for our visit. Mr. Speaker, I really enjoyed our visits to those markets because, Mr. Speaker, I realized that sitting here in the Senate without going to Mashinani to interact with the people, with the stakeholders, you don't get a feel of what our Senate should be doing or performing, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we got very warm receptions wherever we went, and we made people to realize what the Senate does. A lot of people don't realize the role of the Senate, and when we went there and explained and talked to the Wananchi were very, very receptive, and they gave us a lot of information which was very useful to us in writing the reports which have come out here. And I would want to second and urge members to debate our report objectively and come out with further recommendations or support the recommendations which we have made, Mr. Speaker, in these reports in Bungoma and in the markets in Vihiga constituency, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to second.
I do think that you must have meant Vihiga County and not constituency. Now, Honorable Senators, I now propose the question that the Senate adopts reports of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on its inquiry into the state of markets in Vihiga and Bungoma counties arising from statements sought by Senator Godfrey Osotsi, MP, and Senator David Wafula Wakoli, MP, laid on the table of the Senate on Tuesday, 1st of October, 2024. Now, honorable members, the motion is now available for debate by members. I see Senator Wambua has requested to speak to it, and I will allow you to proceed to comment on the motion.
I thank you, the Speaker. The Speaker, I will share the time that I have with my colleague, Senator Mugeni. So, first of all, the Speaker, is to thank the committee for making those visits to Bungoma and Vihiga, Mr. Speaker, to see what is happening, especially on our markets in those two counties. The Speaker, I would have wanted to listen to something that they did not capture. And perhaps this is my way of enriching that report. The Speaker, the fourth schedule of our Constitution, Part 2, lists markets as the development of markets, the regulation of markets as a devolved function. The Speaker, in this administration, we have seen an increase in cases where the national government is overreaching and taking up devolved functions, especially in the area of markets. The Speaker, that overreach, and especially in markets, has been so controversial that we have seen Kenyans have been treated to scenes of leaders physically fighting over who should carry out that function. The Speaker, I stand to remind the committee that if the national government has an interest and an appetite for development of markets in the county, Mr. Speaker, the provisions of Article 187 of our Constitution are very clear, that if you are transferring a function from one level of government to the other level of government, then two things must happen. One, there must be an agreement between the two levels of government in writing with the Speaker. And secondly, that the monies that had been set aside for that function in that level of government should move to the next level, but responsibility remains with the original level of government. Mr. Speaker, I would have wanted to hear from the committee telling us the markets that have been developed, especially by the Ministry of Housing, under the Economic Stimulus Program, how many of those markets have followed the provisions of 187 of the Constitution? And in the absence of that, Mr. Speaker, is somebody at the national government liable for an offense of misuse or misallocation of public resources? Mr. Speaker, I am not opposed to the development of markets in any corner of the country, but Mr. Speaker, it must be clear to the national government that markets are a devolved function, and if they want to undertake those functions, Mr. Speaker, then they should invoke the provisions of 187. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, that the national government must never forget that under Part 1 of the fourth schedule, they have a responsibility to build capacity and provide technical assistance to the counties. Mr. Speaker, perhaps building capacity and providing technical assistance does not open any avenues for exchange of any funds. But Mr. Speaker, it is a responsibility assigned to the national government by the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support the report.
Senator Okongo Mogeni. Use the mic next to you. That one is already on.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the Committee for Devolution for the visitation they did to the county of Bungoma. How I wish, Mr. Speaker, that this committee had also diverted a bit to my county of Nyamira in Nyansiongo. Mr. Speaker, the government at times puts us in a lot of difficulty, Mr. Speaker. If you read the Constitution in black and white, markets is a devolved functions of our counties. But at times, Mr. Speaker, national government takes over, makes promises, Mr. Speaker, but never delivers. Mr. Speaker, you are my neighbor from the county of Bomet. In March 2023, the president was at Nyansiongo Market, Mr. Speaker. He made promises to the people of Nyansiongo, Mr. Speaker, and said he's going to ensure that Nyansiongo Market will be completed. He promised that within a month, Cabro will be fixed in that market. He said within a month, water will be connected to that market. He said within 1 month, electricity will be connected. Mr. Speaker, if you follow news, 3 weeks ago, we lost 8 lives, Mr. Speaker, because the traders were selling their merchandise along the road, because that market has not been completed, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I thought that will even provoke the government to take urgent steps, Mr. Speaker, to complete that market. You know, Mr. Speaker, how do people take us, Mr. Speaker, when we as leaders at that level, you come, you make promises to people, Mr. Speaker, you don't fulfill those promises. 8 lives are lost in one accident. 8, Mr. Speaker. And we don't get any response from the government. Mr. Speaker, we were in this house. The record can bear me witness. CS Chirichir, CS Roads was in this house. Mr. Speaker, when I drew his attention to that accident, he said, I'm going to act. And I'll erect bumps along that stretch, down from Sotik, and the other one that comes from the Keroka side. As we speak today, Mr. Speaker, The people of Nyansiongo have not seen any intervention from the CS roads. How do the people look at their government, Mr. Speaker? If we can make promises in the August House, Mr. Speaker, that is...
Senator Okongo Mogeni, the time is up. I know they've been listening and they'll act accordingly. I believe so. But then for purposes of your continuation of comments on this motion, you will have 17 minutes when the House resumes to conclude on your comments to the motion. Now, Honorable Senators, it's now 6:30 p.m., time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until tomorrow, Thursday, 31st of July, 2025 at 2:30 p.m.